Hello Hylians, I'm Andrew, and with Smash right around the corner, this episode of Yellow Spandex is all about the legendary hero from Nintendo's Zelda franchise. He's been called by many names depending on what you title your save game file, but until Nintendo makes my dude canon, you probably know him best as Link. So hang on to your hookshots and tune up the band because this is the design evolution of Link. Let's start with Link's origins in the 2D era. Link debuted on February 21st, 1986 in The Legend of Zelda for the Famicom Disk System, which were released on the American NES a year and a half later.
Whoa, nice graphics! I'd like to get my hands on that game.
You mean you haven't played it yet?
Zelda creator Shigeru Miyamoto is a big fan of classic animation, so he had a simple request for sprite designer Takashi Tezuka. He wanted Link to look like Peter Pan as he appeared in Disney's 1953 film. The green tunic, the long hat, and the pointy ears are all tributes to J.M. Barrie's beloved character, as are the fairies that flutter around Hyrule. I don't know where those excuses for sideburns came from, but Link's look was pretty much locked, and every game up to and including Breath of the Wild would iterate on the same basic design. One element that was quickly dropped, however, was the giant cross on Link's shield because Judeo-Christian iconography doesn't really jive with Hylia's Holy Trinity. When it came time for the sequel, the slightly taller Link stuck with the same design, just with some brown pants to cover up his grown-up legs. Both of these portrayals would influence the short-lived animated version of Link, although here, he's less of a silent, sprightly elf and more like an extremely annoying grown-ass man doing his worst Steve Martin impression.
Well, excuse me, princess.
The series took a break for a few years as Nintendo transitioned to the 16-bit era, and when Zelda finally debuted on the new Super Nintendo in 1992, it came with a brand new Link. Or rather, a new, old Link, since A Link to the Past was set years before the two NES classics. The SNES Link doesn't stray too far from his 8-bit ancestors. He's a little taller, a little more stylized, and for the first time, his hair is portrayed as a dirty blonde rather than a dark brown. At least in the official artwork, because Link's in-game sprite, on the other hand, is rocking a purple-pink mop beneath his hat. The discrepancy has never been addressed, although most theories attribute it to the Super Nintendo's palette limitations and Link's transition to a fluffy pink bunny in the Dark World. Either way, much like Samus Aran's green hair, the cotton candy look never became canon, not even in the horrendous CDI Zeldas from around this time.
My boy, this piece is what all true warriors strive for.
I just wonder what Ganon's up to.
And Link returned to a more traditional look for his debut in the third dimension. In early test footage for what was then called the Ultra 64, Nintendo showed off a polygonal Link that looked a lot like his NES predecessors, complete with big sideburns, brunette hair, and brown undergarments. But when Ocarina of Time finally hit the scene years later, we were treated to not one, but two new visions of the Hero of Time. There's the Kokiri cutie known as Young Link and his hotter, older self. Yeah. Artist Yoshiaki Koizumi was in charge of Link's design, and while he originally toyed with making the character even more cartoony, with a big Mario-esque nose and Don Mattingly caliber sideburns,
Mattingly, get rid of those sideburns.
What sideburns?
You heard me, hippie.
at the suggestion of his wife, he turned adult Link into the handsome hunk we're all familiar with today. A Hylian Leonardo DiCaprio, complete with sharp features and hip blue earrings that somehow appeared during his years of hibernation in the Temple of Time. Don't you hate when you go to bed and you wake up and you just got earrings now? Koizumi didn't want to make him too cool though. That wouldn't be very Nintendo, so they gave him some long white underwear to dork him up a bit, and so you can give him a wedgie. It's a glitch. It's a little secret Easter egg. Give him a wedgie. The sequel, Majora's Mask, focused primarily on Link's younger self and used the same basic models and character designs from Ocarina. Although we did get to see some variety through Link's transformations into various Hylian species, not to mention his edgelord-tastic turn as fierce deity. After the masterpiece that was Majora and the pretty awesome Oracle games, Zelda fans were fiending to find out what a next-generation Link would look like. And they got their first taste in the year 2000 at the now-defunct Space World Expo. To hype their upcoming Gamecube system, Nintendo showed off an infamous demo that featured 14 seconds of Link and Ganondorf dueling it out. Fans were intrigued by the dark tone, down-to-earth design, and realistic rendering, but the game they eventually got was about as far from grim and gritty as it gets. Imagine seeing 14 seconds of The Dark Knight and then getting Lego Batman. Director Eiji Aonuma hated the Space World showing. He thought it was too derivative of Ocarina and everything that had came before it, and didn't give them any room to improve on the aesthetic. Then, out of the blue, artist Yoshiki Harahana showed him a simple drawing of a cute, stylized cartoon Link that invigorated the entire crew and set them on a bold new course. But when they debuted the new look at the next year's Space World, it was met with a mixed reception. Remember, Nintendo has always battled the perception that their games are strictly for kids, and a lot of people were hoping that their darker, edgier Link would earn some respect from the console peers who were too busy blowing people away and stealing cars in GTA 3.
Word, can I borrow that? You got a PlayStation 2? Nah, I got Gamecube. Well, there's Gamecube and then there's Dreamcast. What you got? Well, I said I got Gamecast, man. Damn, I can't afford it.
They mockingly called the game Zelda, after its use of cell shading that gave the flooded world of Hyrule a flat and colorful look. But once the Wind Waker actually released, it turned out to be a breath of fresh air. Wind Waker's brilliant aesthetic has helped it age a lot better than most games of its era, and its adorable incarnation of Link became an icon of his own right. From his adorable lobster pajamas, the first time we see Link in his civilian clothes, to his simplified but still stylish tunic, tights, and hat, Toon Link has become one of the longest lasting looks in the whole franchise, appearing in 4 Swords, Minish Cap, and a bunch of DS games like the Phantom Hourglass, and as his own separate character in Smash Bros. When it came time for Twilight Princess, however, Nintendo walked back their bold decision and decided to give fans what they thought they wanted: Ocarina of Time with better graphics and a more realistic presentation. And after spending way too much time in Link's villager attire, we get a new version of the traditional design that is indeed more practical than anything that came before. It's got layers, it's got depth, and a level of detail that we'd never seen in Link's costume, but still grounded in the classic design, with one huge exception. Thanks to a last-minute Wii conversion that threw in some waggle controls, this is the first game where Link isn't portrayed as left-handed. How about that? And if you want an even more radical departure, you can always turn into a wolf, where the only remnants of Link's trademark look are his little blue earrings. Or you can dig up the ancient hero, the Link from Ocarina who died and came back wearing armor that would look right at home in Skyrim. 2011 Skyward Sword tried to walk back the realism a bit with a slightly stylized look and a less desaturated costume complete with poofy pants. Unlike most Zeldas, this Link isn't some random elf boy or villager, he's a knight in training, an idea that cool details like chainmail really helped to sell. Hyrule Warriors gave us an even more badass version of Link, with plated shoulder armor and a flowing blue scarf. And Triforce Heroes was literally built around dressing our boy up in all sorts of kooky costumes. But if you want a truly radical take on the time-honored classic, look no further than Breath of the Wild. Link's latest adventure was seen as a throwback to the open-ended exploration of the very first Zelda game, but his design was a drastic departure from the past. Link actually starts the game naked, which shocked the fuck out of me, and you have to clothe him yourself with whatever you can unearth across the vast plains of Hyrule. Link's wardrobe choices go beyond simple palette swaps of your plain green tunic. There are dozens of different outfits, hats, and accessories with which to adorn the hero. And you can dress your Hylian champion as anything, from a Sheikah warrior to David Foster Wallace. The canon outfit appears to be the champion tunic, a bright blue number with no hat that is a drastically different default look. But if you're a stickler for tradition, completing all 120 shrines will get you the classic Tunic of the Wild. And if you're a lazy stickler for tradition with some money to burn, you can just buy a bunch of amiibos and unlock a ton of classic outfits. Over the last 3 decades, Link has evolved from a simple sprite into a style icon. And no matter what timeline you accept or what incarnation you idolize, if there's one constant across the entire Zelda series, it's that Link is looking good. Thanks for watching, everyone. We're so hyped for Smash that we did 2 Nintendo episodes of our biggest shows, and we'd love to keep it going. So what video game characters would you like to see on Yellow Spandex? Mario, Sonic, Peach, Daisy, Earthworm Jim? I don't know, leave a comment, let me know. Please subscribe to NowThis Nerd, and if you see a stray cuckoo, just leave it be.